week 17 of the fantasy football season. And now with the championship here for fantasy owners, here's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire this week. The first receiver, Jalen McMillan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So McMillan, the last 3 weeks, he's really getting things going for this Tampa Bay Buc team. I know when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were both out at the same time, the numbers weren't really there, but now the last 3 games, like I mentioned, he's going out there and he's putting up points. Is McMillan. Week 14 versus Vegas, 4 catches, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns. Week 15 at the Chargers, 5 catches, 75 yards, a touchdown. And week 16 at the Cowboys game, 5 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. So week 17, a good matchup versus the Carolina Panthers. Give up the 17th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. And McMillan's been a nice number 2 option in this passing game for this Tampa Bay Buc team. Even when Cade Otton wasn't out, like he missed week 16's game, McMillan the last few weeks got things going. So like I said, all of a sudden now he's been in the playbook more after the bye week. Is McMillan. Baker Mayfield definitely trusts him. And this offense, they're putting points up, and McMillan's definitely been a big part of it. So now with 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks and still available, surprisingly, in 55% of fantasy leagues, he's definitely a wide receiver. I looked at off the wire this week. The next receiver, Hollywood Brown of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Hollywood Brown, we know he's been out the whole season with a shoulder injury. He returned in week 16. Had a decent ball game, 5 catches, 45 yards. So week 17 is going to be a grinded out type of matchup, I believe, at the Pittsburgh Steelers, where their defense for the most part this season has been good. But now Patrick Mahomes gets another good weapon in the offense. He was supposed to be a big-time signing, obviously in free agency, but with the injury where he was out the whole season up till now, I still believe he's got the playbook down. He played a couple preseasons and games. He was in training camp, and that's just about getting his legs under him. So right now, if you want to pick Hollywood Brown off the waiver wire, he's available in 68% of fantasy leagues, and I think he could be a sneaky play this week in that matchup at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next wide receiver, Bill Robinson of the New York Giants. We know it's a train wreck over there for this New York Giant team. They haven't won a game since October, but Wendell Robinson a couple times this season. He's gone out there and had some decent games, available in 69% of fantasy leagues. So the last few weeks, week 14 versus Saints, 4 catches, 38 yards, 11 targets. Week 15 versus Baltimore, 4 catches, 38 yards. And week 16, the Falcons, 7 catches, 62 yards, and 12 targets. A lot of garbage time this New York Giant team plays. He's been a garbage time target machine is Wendell Robinson this season, especially the last 3 games. He's got 32 targets in the time, so I know he hasn't put up numbers. Can't turn down targets like that, especially in a team that's always going to throw the football down early and often. So this week with a decent matchup versus the Indianapolis Colts, I think Robinson is a decent ad this week. Next receiver, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine of the Tennessee Titans. So Westbrook-Ikhine, he's out there in tons of fantasy leagues still. It's 74%. And I know this season he's been a touchdown and nothing is Westbrook-Ikhine, but he's got the knack for the end zone. And once again, he found the end zone in week 16's ball game. So after a couple down games, he bounced back with a middle of the pack performance, 2 catches, 17 yards, and a touchdown. So on the season, like I said, he's been a touchdown machine, but not doing much. Besides that, on the year, 25 catches, and 9 of them are touchdowns for Westbrook-Ikhine, and he's a deep ball threat. So him and Mason Rudolph got to get rapport down, no doubt about it, I believe, for this Tennessee Titan team. But they're another team that's playing a lot of garbage time and trailing, and it seems like more weeks than not, he does find the end zone, is Westbrook-Ikhine. Next receiver, Devon Vele of the Denver Broncos. So Vele, he's been up and down so far in his rookie season. Injuries did him in early in the season, but now he's been back the last 5-6 weeks of the season. He's had some productive games, including 3 games in a row from week 10 to week 12 with double-digit fantasy points in PPR leagues. So week 16, he had a good, decent ball game at the Chargers, 2 catches, 21 yards, and a touchdown. And now defenses are definitely rolling coverage Courtland Sutton's way, and it's been tougher for Courtland Sutton to put up the big numbers over the last couple weeks. So I think Vele has a big target and someone who's got this offense down pretty well in his rookie season, and they have some faith in him, putting him out there. Sean Payton can be a wide receiver that can help fantasy owners, and right now available in 87% of fantasy leagues with a good matchup at Cincinnati that obviously the majority of the season haven't stopped anyone. Next receiver, Keyshawn Botte of the New England Patriots. So Botte, he's out there in tons of fantasy leagues right now, 97%. We've seen a couple flash games from him here and there, but week 16 was a big game for him at the Bills in that tight game. 5 catches, 95 yards, and found the end zone. So the Patriots, another team, they're going to be trailing early and often a whole lot like they have all season long. And this week, versus the Chargers, I believe we're going to see more of the same. I know in Week 16 they got off to a 14-0 lead, but quickly blew it, where the Bills were in the lead 24-14, and had to play catch-up. So both he's got decent hands. He's a decent route runner, and him and Drake May know each other from early in the season when they were playing second team and preseason games. So right now, while he's out there in 97% of fantasy leagues, he's definitely a wide receiver I looked at this week in the final. Wide receiver I looked at is Aldia Zacchaeus of the Washington Commanders. So all season long, this Commander team's been looking for that number 2 wide receiver to step up and put up numbers. In Zacchaeus, he didn't disappoint with a 5-catch, 70-yard, 2-touchdown ball game in the come-from-behind victory versus the Eagles in Week 16. So we know they got Luke McCaffrey. We know Noah Brown. He was a decent part of this team early in the season. His main highlight was catching that game-winning Hail Mary touchdown weeks ago versus Chicago Bears. But Zacchaeus, we've seen some flashes from him throughout his career, going back to his Atlanta Falcon days. But this week, like I said, in Week 16, he stepped up. He had a good ball game. And right now, with a good matchup in Week 17 versus the Falcons, they give up the 4th most fantasy points to receivers on the season. He's definitely a receiver there this week, available in 99% of fantasy leagues. That's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire for Week 17 of the fantasy football season.